Good morning, Sue Smith sitting in for Elias Makos. Great to be with you on this beautiful morning. And it's time to talk politics, international politics. The Trump administration has slapped a Canadian judge with sanctions. Judge Kimberly Prost is on the International Criminal Court. The acronym is ICC. She was sanctioned for ruling to authorize the ICC's investigation into U.S. personnel in Afghanistan. 3 other officials on the court were also sanctioned. Noah Weisbord is a law professor at McGill University. He joins me on the line. Good morning.
Hi, Sue.
So what exactly did the U.S. do?
Well, the U.S. has imposed some financial sanctions on this Canadian International Criminal Court judge. So all her assets in the United States will be frozen, and she can't do any business or do any transactions in the United States.
So what does that mean in terms of her on the court?
Well, on the court, she can continue her duties, but she's one of, as you said, just among 4 other people that have been sanctioned, 1 other judge and 2 people from the office of the prosecutor. So she's being targeted in particular because she, along with 4 other appeals court judges, authorized an investigation into, mass atrocity committed in Afghanistan at the beginning of the Afghan War, 2003-2004. But it was a unanimous decision of the International Criminal Court Appeals Chamber, and she was just one of the judges endorsing it. So it's pretty shocking.
So just give us a little primer on the International Criminal Court. Like, what kind of work does it do, and how well recognized is it internationally?
Sure. It's a court in The Hague, and it's got 125 states that are the member states that created this court. Almost every member of NATO is a member of the International Criminal Court, except the U.S., Turkey, and now Hungary just withdrew. And the kind of work that they do is independent and impartial investigations and judging of situations where there's been an alleged genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, or aggression. Those are the only crimes that the court can prosecute. Aggression is like, the Nazi invasion of the surrounding states during World War II. Or like, Saddam Hussein rolling into Kuwait in 1990. But now we're talking about, Kim Prost being sanctioned for just authorizing the investigation into all the crimes that were committed in Afghanistan, not just American crimes. So Taliban crimes, crimes by any other military that was functioning there, as well as related to that conflict. So, the black sites in Lithuania, Poland, where torture was alleged to have happened.
So in terms of international recognition, because I know sometimes, people criticize UN bodies, for example. Like, does the court have teeth? Like, does it actually, the recommendations that it makes, if it finds people guilty, is that somehow then prosecuted in Den Haag? Or, how legit is it?
Well, all 125 states are obligated to arrest perpetrators on their territory.
Right.
So it has teeth. So the militaries and the police forces of these countries have legal obligations, the executive as well, that if they don't fulfill, they can be sued or sanctioned. Also, the other 124 states are not going to be pleased. Mm-hmm. So that will affect their diplomacy. So, yeah, there's teeth. And there's been, several high-profile arrests. And there's been several high-profile arrest warrants recently that are highly controversial and that the United States is quite upset about, including an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel for alleged crimes that were committed in the recent conflict in Gaza.
So in principle, though, the U.S. has to abide by the ICC's decisions right now.
Not exactly. How it works is that if somebody, any individual, commits one of those crimes that I mentioned, a genocide, for example, or a war crime, on the territory of one of these ICC states, so on the territory of Canada or any of the 124 states, then the ICC can have jurisdiction because it's as if a Canadian court would be prosecuting, but
Right.
instead they send it to The Hague to be prosecuted. Right. Or if a national of one of these 125 states, like a Canadian person, goes to Afghanistan and commits a war crime because they're Canadian and Canada is a member of the ICC, then they can be prosecuted. So the U.S., no. Russia, no. The state itself doesn't have obligations. But if an individual from Russia or the United States commits a genocide in Afghanistan that is a member, then they can be prosecuted.
So the court said on Wednesday that it deplored the sanctions. They called it a flagrant attack against the independence of an impartial judicial institution, which, as you say, operates under the mandate of 125 countries. So I guess what precedent does this set? Does this call into question the independence of the ICC, or will it make judges less likely to rule with impunity going forward?
It's an attempt, it looks like, to intimidate the International Criminal Court judges and prosecutors.
Yeah.
Now that's very unsettling. Whether it works or not will depend on the particular individual judge or prosecutor who's supposed to be following their laws and their ethical duties. These are not the only judges or prosecutors to be intimidated by powerful interests. Mm-hmm. The image of the Herculean judge is a judge who resists corruption and who resists political interference. It's almost a cartoon of what's happening here with the United States, laying it on so heavy in trying to make these people not rule against them. But my expectation is that these jurists, who are some of the best legal minds that their countries can produce, are going to resist the pressure. All of their judgments are transparent. They're going to just ruin their reputations if they succumb to these pressures. Mm-hmm. They've spent their whole lives in this field being human rights experts and advocates. Mm-hmm. I don't think they'll cave.
Still, it must be intimidating. I mean, we've seen south of the border, judges have caved. It's complicated out there right now with all the litigation and all the sanctions. I mean, these people are only human.
Yeah, and the people who seem to be caving to me are the Canadian government now. They haven't stood up at all in support of Kim Prost, who they supported for the election to become an ICC judge in the first place. So Global Affairs promoted her, and now they're not backing her. From what I can tell, there's been no statement from the current Liberal government saying we support the independence of our judge, and we deplore the targeting and sanctions against her for making a judicial decidecision, independent judicial decision.
Do you expect to see a statement like that from what you've seen so far of the Carney government?
Well, I'm hoping that they will make such a statement. It looks to me as if they are doing anything possible when it comes to the International Criminal Court to not antagonize President Trump. So they've also worked against the strengthening of the International Criminal Court. Just a few months ago in New York City, there was an attempt by the vast majority of the ICC states to strengthen the prohibition on aggression, like Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Well, Canada was the number one state that was trying to torpedo this effort. With maybe a handful of other states, they basically blocked the strengthening of ICC jurisdiction over Vladimir Putin.
Wow.
And that's probably because they were trying to gain favor with the Trump administration during these trade negotiations.
Absolutely. All right, well, we'll watch this space, but I appreciate you explaining the kind of convoluted actions there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure, Sue. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Noah Weisbord. He's a law professor at McGill University. We've had a Canadian judge, she's on the ICC, International Criminal Court, sanctioned by the U.S. Kind of unprecedented.